Now, through this week, we've been hearing about businesses across the county. I just find it fascinating how many businesses there are in Suffolk, particularly if you make things and then sending them out and about. And we're going to be talking now to another Suffolk company. This one's involved in a project to detect COVID in wastewater. Process Instrument Sales. They're based in Woolpit. They make instruments that are used during sampling sewage. Jon Taylor is the MD and joins us now. Hello, Jon.
Afternoon, Leslie.
So this sounds fascinating. And just explain the reasons you're sampling sewage, how being able to detect COVID, how that works first, before we talk about what you do.
Right. Well, it's a fairly simple system that is well established. It's not something that we've suddenly come up with the idea. Sampling sewage for detecting all sorts of traces of bacteria and industrial waste and that sort of thing has been going on for some time. However, what is new is that this sampling system is now lending itself to the early detection of COVID in distinct areas of the country. This system has actually been adopted worldwide as well. What it basically will do is enable an area to, without wishing to be too gross, to test the effluent, the sewage that comes typically into a sewage treatment works. Its samples are taken over a set period of time, and those samples then can be sent off to a laboratory and tested en masse. So, with the logistics of testing individuals and the cost involved with doing that, and of course you can test someone today and tomorrow they could have unfortunately picked up the virus. So, short of testing everybody every single day, this is a surefire way of testing a lot of people in an area.
So big businesses, universities, colleges. So it just gives an indication as to whether the COVID is present, I assume.
Yeah, COVID is present. There's all likelihood that levels of COVID would be detected virtually in any sewage. However, what we're looking for, or what councils and universities and old folks' homes would be looking for, would be any increase over a period of time, any spikes, any decrease, in fact. All of those things are valuable data that can be then used by authorities to look in more detail at an area or a factory. We had the case recently with the chicken production factory. Something like this could have given very much an early warning of there being a spike in COVID.
It is fascinating. Do you make the whole system, or do you make parts that go into the system?
No, we represent several international companies. The company that manufactures this piece of equipment is a company called HACH. That's HACH, and they are a world-renowned business that have been in water analyzers for many, many years. As I said to you before, this system is not new, not by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a well-established method of gathering samples. And, HACH are a very well-trusted name. We are their technical partner for the southeast of the UK. And what we do is provide the equipment, but we also install it and commission it and maintain it.
It's fascinating. I think it's really interesting.
What it is, the cost and logistics alone offset anything that would be involved in the cost of utilising this equipment. The man hours, the logistics, the testing costs alone would, are enormous. So this would enable an area to detect COVID a lot sooner, because it's well reported that you or I could catch COVID today and it would be 2 weeks before that symptom shows on us. But if, without being crude, we go to the toilet, tomorrow we can find out that, yes, there's COVID present.
That's fine.
And that's also a huge advantage. It's going to give a much, much better early warning of any spikes that are likely to happen.
It's really interesting. When did you realise that COVID could be picked up?
Well, this is something that was implemented firstly by universities and colleges in the States. That's where it came from. They were looking for somewhere to test their, to basically give some reassurance and safety to the colleges for people going back to university. And they implemented this very quickly, and it has saved an awful lot of spread of the virus in those faculties. Now, it's well reported as well that, the universities and colleges in this country have seen a lot of big spikes of COVID. And I think had this system been implemented by some of the universities here, that could have been prevented, or at least people could have been isolated a lot sooner and stopped the spread going any further.
Have people picked it up now, though? Are people using the system
now?
now?
They are. It's very, the engagement is coming very quickly, as you can imagine. There's a very well-known soft drinks company, for instance, that have taken it on board recently. And, because their production facility, they cannot actually stop production because of COVID, because the knock-on effect for the likes of you and I and the general public would be enormous. And not only that, it's people's livelihoods, it's the chain, the supply chain into the business, out of the business, has a huge effect on many, many, many lives, and not just the people that get infected with COVID. So, understandably, they were very keen to implement this system as soon as possible.
It's really interesting. What other things do you look for? Or, I assume you sample the water. Do you do the testing of the water as well, or do you send it away to be tested?
No.
You just take the sample.
Laboratories that do that. So basically, what you're doing is you're sending the sample away.
Yeah.
That sample is then tested by the lab. What it's not telling you, it's not telling you how many people potentially have got COVID, but it is giving you trends, and it shouldn't be seen as a definitive marker of COVID, but certainly a tool in the armoury of alerting the authorities that there is a potential spike or there's a potential problem.
I guess we sample all the time. Have you got to the point of, do you know if people are sampling for plastics as well?
Yes, that's certainly done. Industrial waste is something that's been sampled for a very, very long time. The Environment Agency, the water authorities, all very keen to know if there are any trace elements in the water that shouldn't be there. And then that can be, traced back to source. And, this is all done by sampling.
So how have you managed? I mean, I guess you're getting busier and busier at the moment. Did you have to lock down in the first place, or could you keep going, Jon?
No. We, fortunately, we have a very good team here. They all work from home. We can, we're all very self-sufficient to be able to work from home or from the office environment. We are all socially distanced in the office anyway. We have partial staff coverage in the office all the time, and we have engineers that are out on the road, which obviously, they have to follow very strict guidelines when they're going on site. But we've worked all the way through. We haven't stopped. In fact, we're currently having our best ever year, which is going against the general trend. And we've employed people, and we're very fortunate. I think we've worked extremely hard, and we've because of the industries that we deal with are all the sort of industries that need to keep producing. So we work very closely with the food industry, power, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, utilities. So they're all businesses that have to keep operating.
It's really interesting. It's fascinating. Silver linings and all that, eh, Jon?
Yeah, well, yes, you're absolutely right on that, Leslie. We're also backed very much. We represent one of the world's biggest companies in Siemens. They backed us absolutely extraordinarily through this whole period as well. And we're very fortunate to work with great individuals as well that are able to provide the backing that we need to support customers in this part of the world.
Who founded the business? When did you start?
Originally, I started this business off in 1987.
Wow.
And we've been going strong ever since. And I think you can probably tell I'm what you might call experienced.
What was the inspiration when you started?
People might say old, but
no, I'm not. I'm with you there. Experienced is definitely the phrase we're all using these days. What was it? Because things have changed so much over the years, haven't they? So, what was your inspiration right at the start?
I think I'm just one of those people that I've always been ambitious, and the only way I thought that I was ever going to meet my ambitions was to actually create them myself. And I've always been very hard on myself and pushed myself very hard to achieve. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's all been successful, but I can honestly say that now I've got a great team of people here support me absolutely to the hilt, and certainly we are we've got a great customer base as well. All the blue chip companies that you could think of in this part of the world we deal with, and we've got great companies that support us, our suppliers. So we're certainly we're ambitious, we're very focused, we're embracing all the new technologies, and this is just part of what how we're forging ahead.
Well, it's been really interesting talking to you, Jon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lesley. Thanks very much.
Jon Taylor, he's the Managing Director of Process Instruments Sales. They're based in Woolpit, and they are involved in that detail. So they help provide the instruments which sample the wastewater from businesses as well. A really interesting insight, isn't it, into some of the testing.